On Christmas morning, Dad gifted my brother a $55,000 sports car. I got a napkin that said Unchosen One because I refused to co-sign his loan. My brother laughed and asked, "How does it feel to be not the favorite?" I looked at them and said, "Let's see how you manage without my $4,000 monthly support." 3 days later, I got 53 calls, 11 voice notes, and a knock at midnight that changed everything. "Check it out," my brother yelled, running outside in his slippers, practically drooling over the shiny red Mustang parked in our driveway. "No way. Dad, are you serious?" My father just stood there, grinning like Santa on steroids. "Only the best for my boy," he said, tossing him the keys. "You earned it." I stood in the hallway, holding my coffee, still half asleep. My dad didn't even glance at me. My brother was jumping around like a toddler. "Dude, this is like 55 grand. 56, actually," my dad corrected. "But who's counting?" Then he turned to me. "Oh right, almost forgot. Here's yours." He handed me a crumpled napkin, written in black Sharpie. "The Unchosen One." I blinked. "What is this?" My brother burst out laughing, nearly dropping the key fob. "Dude, that's brutal." "Dad, really?" My father shrugged. "You refused to co-sign the loan. Actions have consequences." I stared at both of them. The air felt colder than the snow falling outside. "You're punishing me for not risking my credit on your bad decisions." My brother stepped closer, a smirk on his face. "So how does it feel to be not the favorite, huh?" I looked at them both, the grinning figure with the new car and the father who always made me feel like the second in line. And then I said it, quietly, calmly. "Let's see how you manage without my $4,000 monthly support." The smirk on my brother's face faltered for a second. 3 days later, I had 53 missed calls, 11 voice notes, and a knock at my door at midnight that changed everything. I should have seen it coming a mile away. For the past 4 years, I'd been the invisible backbone of this family. Every month, like clockwork, I sent my dad $4,000 to help out. Mortgage, medical bills, utilities, whatever excuse he had. The understanding was always unspoken but heavy. "You're the responsible one. You owe us." When my mom died, I stepped in. My brother was 19 then, flunking out of his second college, and my dad had just lost half his pension in some bad investment he wouldn't shut up about. I was 26, single, and already making six figures working remote for a cybersecurity firm. So naturally, I became the family ATM. "You're lucky to be in tech," my dad used to say. "Not everyone has that luxury." Luxury. Like I hadn't worked 70-hour weeks for 3 straight years to get there. At first it was $800. Then it became $1,500. Then when my brother moved back in after crashing his Audi, the first one, it jumped to $4,000 just until we get back on our feet. They never got back on their feet. Because why would they? My brother, Kyle, didn't even pretend to try. He'd sleep till noon, then spend hours in the garage with his YouTube channel, unboxing luxury watches he never paid for, fake sponsorships, flexing like he was someone important. "It's all marketing," he used to say. "It's not about being rich. It's about looking rich." That Christmas morning just confirmed what I'd known deep down for years. They never respected me. They just used me. After I refused to co-sign a $70,000 loan for Kyle's business expansion, my dad called me ungrateful. Said I was jealous of Kyle's entrepreneurial drive. I laughed in his face. "I've been your safety net for 4 years," I told him. "You don't get to throw shade just because I said no once." He hung up on me. So yeah, I skipped the cosign, paid my own bills, saved like an adult. And for Christmas, I got a napkin with Unchosen One, written in Sharpie like I was some failed Harry Potter side character. The car wasn't even the worst part. It was the way they laughed. Like it was a joke. Like I didn't matter. So I pulled the plug. No more $4,000. No more paying off Kyle's parking tickets, his credit cards, his streaming software upgrades. No more covering my dad's missed payments and overdraft fees. And I didn't say it like a threat. I just said it calmly, clearly, with a small nod. "Let's see how you manage without me." I didn't get a response at first. Just awkward silence. Kyle looked confused, like I was bluffing. My dad tried to laugh it off. "You're just upset, son." I wasn't upset. I was done. The next 3 days were quiet. I went back to my place, kept working, went to the gym, lived my life. I ignored the first few calls, let the voicemails pile up. But by the third day, the volume changed. First, it was Kyle. "Bro, can we talk?" That whole napkin thing, it was just a joke, man. Then my dad. I didn't mean to offend you, but you know we're in a tight spot. By evening, I had 53 missed calls, 11 voice notes, each one more desperate than the last. One from Kyle's girlfriend. They're freaking out. Your dad's threatening to sell the house. Kyle's credit cards are maxed out. He thought you were still covering the insurance. Turns out I was. And then came the knock. Midnight. I peeked through the peephole and saw them both. Kyle, hoodie up, looking miserable, and my dad, red-eyed like he'd been crying or drinking. Probably both. I didn't open the door. I stood there, staring, heart pounding. Because this wasn't about money anymore. This was years of being used. Manipulated. Dismissed. They stood there in silence. I heard my dad mumble something. Then he said it louder, voice cracking. We need your help. I didn't say anything. Because this time, they weren't getting what they wanted. But before I tell you what happened next, and how that knock changed everything, let me take you back to how this mess really started. Back when I first became their personal safety net. Back when I thought helping meant loyalty. It started with Kyle's first serious driving mistake. I was 23, he was 20. My dad didn't have the money for a lawyer, and Kyle didn't have the brains not to drive drunk. So I stepped in, paid the fines, got him legal counsel, even bought him an Uber gift card just in case. Dad called me a hero. Kyle said, "Thanks, bro," and posted a picture of his court outfit with the caption, "Cleaning up nice." The next time it was the rent. Kyle got kicked out of his apartment for throwing a party that destroyed the place. He just needs a restart, my dad told me. He's got so much potential. I wired them $3,000, then $5,000, then $8,000 when the car lease defaulted. But nothing changed. The more I gave, the less they respected me. Kyle never worked more than part-time. My dad kept refinancing the house until it barely had equity left. They took vacations I never went on. Ate at restaurants I couldn't justify. Upgraded phones, bought gaming chairs, paid for Spotify Premium, all while I quietly cut corners to meet deadlines and hit savings goals. At one point, I was working 2 jobs, cybersecurity during the day, freelance coding at night, just to maintain a buffer in case they needed help. No one asked if I was okay. They just kept asking for more. And I kept giving it. Until now. Until Christmas morning. Until the napkin. I only opened the door when I heard my father say it. "Son, please." He never said that. Ever. They both stood there, my dad in an old, sagging jacket, and Kyle with his hood up, looking like someone had deflated his confidence. I stepped aside. They walked in. My father spoke first. We've lost everything. The car was repossessed this morning. I'm $19,000 in credit card debt. And, he looked at Kyle. He can't afford rent. So, I asked. My voice was flat, almost unfamiliar to myself. We're asking you to come back. Help us. Just for a few months. We realized we crossed a line. That napkin thing, it was a joke. A stupid one. I turned to Kyle. You laughed, Kyle. Called me the not the favorite. That was a joke. He nodded slowly. It seemed funny at the time. I didn't think you'd actually cut us off. That was the truth. They never thought I would stop. They thought I was too responsible, too guilt-ridden, too loyal. Do you know how much money I've sent you over the years? I asked, pulling out my laptop. I added it up, $186,000. In 5 years. Not including gifts, credit card bailouts, insurance premiums. Silence. All I ever got in return was disrespect and pressure. Kyle got a sports car. I got a napkin. Dad jumped in defensively. That's not fair. I've always looked out for you. After your mom. You looked out for yourself. And for Kyle. After Mom died, I became your safety net. And I stayed quiet. But not anymore. I turned directly to my brother. You've disrespected me for years. Laughed at me, lived off my money, treated me like I was beneath you. Now it's your turn to figure it out. My dad switched tactics. Manipulation mode. We won't survive without you. We'll lose the house. You had 4 years and 6 refinancing deals to fix things, I said. You chose laziness. Now you deal with it. That's when it came. The part one expected. Anger. You're really gonna let your own father end up on the street? He barked. You think you're better than us now? I stayed still. I didn't flinch. That enraged him even more. I made you who you are, he shouted. You owe us everything. I laughed. It wasn't amused, it was dry, tired. I made myself. You made a mess. And dumped it on me. Kyle stood quiet. But then he muttered, I'll get a job. Maybe. If you help one more time. You had chances, I said, when I paid for your business course. And the second one. And the third. And the $3,200 streaming setup. And the studio you abandoned in a month. Still silence. I helped you because I thought that's what family does. But now I know. I was just convenient. My dad tried again, voice cracking now. But we're your family. We made mistakes, sure. But we're blood. I reached for a folder from my shelf. I've redirected the $4,000 a month into an investment account. For me. And for the first time in years, I feel in control. Kyle exhaled. So that's it. You're just leaving us behind. I'm not leaving you. I'm releasing myself. Then came the final act. My dad lowered his eyes. What if we apologized? I shrugged. Then apologize. But don't expect another dollar. They left 15 minutes later. No shouting. No threats. And that's when I felt it. Not triumph. Not victory. Just silence. Finally, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. And for the first time in years, I fell asleep without tension in my chest. The first morning after they left, I woke up to silence. No vibrating phone. No overdraft alerts. No missed calls from my dad asking for just one more thing. I brewed my coffee, took it to the couch, sat there for 10 minutes, doing nothing. And for the first time in years, that nothing didn't feel wasteful. It felt earned. Over the next week, I kept expecting the guilt to hit. It didn't. Instead, I felt lighter. Like someone had cut off a weight I didn't even know I was carrying. Like I could finally breathe. My routine didn't change. I still worked. Still went to the gym. Still meal prepped on Sundays. But now there was no anxious voice in the back of my head calculating how much I'd have left after covering someone else's crisis. I finally had a full paycheck to myself. And it felt unreal. But the calls didn't stop. They came in waves. First a few missed ones. Then long texts. Paragraphs of guilt and nostalgia. Remember when we used to go to the beach as kids? Your mom would have wanted us to stay close. Then came voice notes. Some emotional. Some manipulative. Some angry. My dad cycled through all three in a single day. I didn't answer. Not out of spite. Out of self-preservation. About 2 weeks later, Kyle called from a new number. Left a voicemail. Hey, I get it. You're mad. I was a jerk. I really screwed up. I'm trying to find work, but it's hard out here. I don't know what I'm doing. And Dad, he's not doing great. He's talking about selling the house. I know I don't deserve your help, but can we just talk? I didn't call back because he wasn't wrong. He didn't deserve it. 3 days after that, I got a message from my dad's number. But it wasn't him. It was a photo. Kyle, in a fast food uniform, looking tired, sweaty, and miserable. The caption just said, "He's learning." I stared at it for a while. Then I closed the message and turned off my phone. That night, I got another knock on my door. It wasn't them. It was someone I hadn't heard from in years. Amanda, my brother's ex-girlfriend. We barely spoke when they were together. But now she stood there, eyes red, holding a small envelope. I know this is weird, she said, but I needed to say thank you. I invited her in. She told me everything. Turns out, she'd left Kyle months ago. But not before he drained her savings, wrecked her credit, and left her stuck with $12,000 in unpaid utilities and car repairs. She tried to reach out to my dad back then. He told her boys will be boys and hung up on her. She didn't come for revenge or money. She came because she saw my name on an old payment stub, one of the many times I'd unknowingly covered Kyle's mess, and realized I wasn't like them. You tried to help, she said, and they made you the villain. Before she left, she handed me the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note from Kyle. It was old, dated 6 months ago. He'd started it like an apology, then halfway through it turned into a rant about how I had it easy, how I never struggled like him, how I owed him for being the golden child of the tech world. I laughed out loud, because he really believed that I had it easy, that waking up at 5 a.m. to work 2 jobs while he played video games was somehow luxury, that skipping vacations, dating, fun, just to send money home made me privileged. That night, I went online and booked a 3-week trip to Portugal. It wasn't some spontaneous escape. It was planned, budgeted, earned. I flew out 2 weeks later. No texts, no check-ins, no "where are you" demands. Just silence and freedom. I hiked the coast, ate my weight in seafood, and read 2 full novels without once checking my email. And while I was gone, something wild happened. Kyle got promoted. Yep, turns out he actually stuck with the job. Showed up early, took extra shifts, stopped complaining. started walking to work, stopped drinking, sold off some of his old luxury junk online just to make rent. And my dad? He started renting out the guest room in his house to a retired Navy vet who helped him fix up the garage. Word was he even started budgeting his money for the first time since 2009. None of that was thanks to me. It was thanks to me leaving, the thing they feared the most. And ironically, the only thing that helped them grow. When I got back, there was a letter waiting in my mailbox. No return address. Inside, a single sentence. I didn't know how much you carried until I had to lift it. No name, just Kyle's handwriting. I folded it and put it in my desk drawer, not out of sentiment, but as proof. Proof that boundaries work. Proof that walking away isn't betrayal. Sometimes it's the only move that resets the board. 2 weeks later, my dad showed up at my door again. Alone. He didn't bring guilt or anger this time. Just a check. A real check. $1,000. This isn't a bribe, he said. It's not even close to what I owe. But it's a start. I didn't cash it. I pinned it to the fridge as a reminder that even the most stubborn people can change when they're forced to. It's been 6 months now. I haven't resumed payments. I haven't taken any calls unless I feel like it. I still send holiday cards. Keep my distance. Protect my peace. And you know what? They stopped asking. Because they finally figured out what I've always known. I was never the unchosen one. I was the one they leaned on. The one they drained. The one they took for granted. But not anymore. Now I'm just me. Free. Stable. Unbothered. And for the first time in years, I know exactly who I am when I'm not carrying everyone else's weight. The day after they left, I waited for regret. It didn't come. What came instead was quiet. Real, peaceful quiet. For the first time in years, I wasn't checking my phone every hour for another crisis. I wasn't logging into my bank account in a panic to make sure I could cover someone else's mess. I wasn't rehearsing fake reasons why I couldn't help this month. I woke up, went to the gym, logged into work, ate lunch without interruption. That evening, I sat on my balcony with a beer and just stared out at nothing. No plans, no pressure, no burden. I didn't feel selfish. I felt alive. But it didn't last. By the third day, the guilt messages started. Like clockwork. We just want to talk. We miss you. You're still family, no matter what. Then came Kyle. Voice notes. One after another. Bro, come on. I know we messed up. But I've got nothing. I'm crashing on someone's floor. I'm applying places, I swear. Just help me one last time. One. Last. Time. He sounded worn down. Scared. I almost answered. But then I remembered the napkin. I remembered him laughing while I stood there humiliated. So I didn't answer. I muted everything. 2 days later, I got a message from an unknown number. It was a photo. Kyle, in a fast food uniform, behind the counter. He looked exhausted. No smile. The caption said, "He's trying." It was from my dad. I stared at it for a full minute, then deleted it. A few days passed. Then I got another text from a number I didn't recognize. Check your email. You're going to want to see this. No name. Curious but cautious, I opened my laptop and checked my inbox. There it was. An anonymous tip. A forwarded screenshot of a GoFundMe page. Please help us keep our home. My father is sick. My brother abandoned us. It had photos of Kyle and my dad looking miserable next to a poorly written sob story. And there it was, my name. Blamed. Publicly. They claimed I'd cut ties with no warning, that I'd refused to help even after a medical emergency, and that I was well off but cold-hearted. I stared at it, stunned. And I wasn't the only one. There were comments from strangers saying things like, "His brother sounds like a heartless person. Imagine letting your own dad go homeless. What a monster." They were making money off of painting me as the villain. Thousands of dollars in donations. I felt like throwing up. I paced for nearly an hour, trying to decide what to do. Call them? Confront them? Sue. Instead, I took a screenshot and sent it to Kyle. "This is how you try now." He replied 5 minutes later. I didn't write it. Dad did. I swear. I told him not to post it. I didn't answer. Instead, I called the reported the fundraise. 2 days later, the page was taken down for violating terms. The money was frozen. And suddenly, silence again. No texts. No calls. Not even guilt trips. A week later, Amanda, Kyle's ex, showed up. She looked hesitant but determined. "I heard about the fundraiser," she said. "I came to tell you something." We sat down, and she explained everything. Apparently, the money was meant to pay off my dad's serious financial losses. Not medical bills. Gambling. He'd racked up over $20,000 in high-risk online games. Kyle knew. Covered for him. The GoFundMe was a last-ditch effort to make it disappear. They weren't trying to survive, she said. They were trying to reset. Again, that night, I booked a weekend trip. My first in years. I didn't tell anyone. I turned off my phone and left. While I was away, something strange happened. I got an email from a former high school friend. Someone I hadn't heard from in over a decade. Subject, saw your name. Attached was a screenshot. My name had shown up in a local Facebook group, with people asking whether the cold tech bro who ditched his dying dad was real. The lies had spread further than I thought. I felt two things, fury and relief. Fury that they dragged my name so deep through the mud. Relief that I wasn't in it anymore. When I came back, things had changed. Kyle kept his job. Word was, he'd been showing up early, even covering shifts. He'd sold off some of his fake luxury junk. My dad stopped gambling, at least for now. He was renting out the spare room and paying off credit cards. Slowly. Then came the final twist. A knock on my door. It was Kyle. No hoodie. No backpack. Just him. Standing there, holding a manila folder. I'm not here to ask for anything, he said. I just wanted to give you this. Inside were printouts. Proof of the debts he'd paid off. Copies of his last 6 paychecks. A receipt showing he'd started therapy. And at the bottom, a short handwritten note. I was the broken one, but I used you like a crutch and blamed you for standing. That hit harder than I expected. It wasn't an apology. It was something rarer. It was accountability. And for the first time, I believed he meant it. We didn't hug. We didn't cry. We nodded. Then he left,